base of this, which is, they've been working hard on, how do you use all the different parts of the so how to use agents throughout all the different parts of the software development. And I think that that's a huge deal. And this notion of prioritizing, security as well as transparency as they do that. And the ability of OpenAI to help enhance both what they do as well as what their users do. And it's available now for anyone with ChatGPT Teams, for ChatGPT Enterprise, and ChatGPT Pro. And given the vital importance of productivity and software development and the new advances here, I thought that this should be essential for our AI leader.
Okay, Ram, what did you think?
So I have to disagree a little bit here. Primarily, when the Codex came up in the morning on Friday, I was like, we are all like super excited that this is like the groundbreaking, really amazing productivity increase tool for the developers. And then they released, and then we got the news that OpenAI is acquiring Windsurf for $3 billion. So which is like just like changes everything, right? So it's again, today we are covering Windsurf as the second article. So Windsurf is rebranding of I think it's Codium.
Codium,
yeah. Codium. With a whole bunch of plugins. It is already integrated into 40 plus IDEs and supports 70 plus languages. It changes the game. Like John, I had to say that the Codex is basically out of date by the time it got.
Okay, because of the wind, yeah. I could go with that. I mean, yeah, fair enough. With the acquisition, yeah, I'd be okay. Yeah, downgrading it because certainly Windsurf seems more impressive. So
yeah, it's So we can discuss about it like when we get to the
Okay.
but
so what you are suggesting, Ram, is that this one is important and the Windsurf is more important. It's essential.
Yeah. It's essential in Windsurf, especially because it's.
So how about we return to this one after we talk about Windsurf? How about that?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's, Ankash, why don't you introduce the second article and then let's talk about it and then come back.
Sure. So Windsurf, they have launched SWE1, their first frontier set of models.
Okay, so Ram, why don't you talk about what do you think about this and how you rated it?
Yeah, so Windsurf, it's an acquisition of $3 billion by OpenAI, right? That itself gives it the amazing weight. It's the largest acquisition for OpenAI till date. And also, the philosophy behind Windsurf is software engineering automation, right? So all the other coding tools that are out there are very limited context, and they automate coding, and there is a significant amount of interaction that the developers have to do, and also the hallucination rates are pretty high because from one context to the next context, it can like start hallucinate, and you have to really know what's happening as a developer. Whereas Windsurf, it has created what they call like flow. They understand like various things from what is happening in the editor to what is happening in the command line to like the overall context, and it can really think. It's like really taking to the complex software development automation. So it's about automating the complex software development and really working with the developers. Right now, most of the developers, heavy-end developers, use some sort of copilot, right? So when it's related to coding editors, it's more like a lot of novice, even though the vibe coding is big, but a lot of novice developers use it. But the hardcore software developers use copilots. Now, this is really a 10x, I would say, more, making them more efficient. So this is truly going to make, at least from my from what I read and what I saw, it's truly going to change the game for software developers.
So Lucinda is asking, how will OpenAI Codex and this platform coexist? And obviously, it's we don't know, but it appears that this is the Windsurf SWE1 is a much broader environment that includes the engineering, the staging, the thinking through the design, the all of the software engineering tasks, if you will, or that's the intent. Versus the Codex is just a coding piece. So they will probably plug into each other and maybe Windsurf's piece on coding will override the Codex. I don't know. John, what do you think?
I definitely think this article is essential. I also agree with Ashish that this will probably be a product, like ChatGPT. This notion of a increased representation and how they deal with uncertainty and incomplete capability. So, if you're a Jira user or, other software infrastructure in terms of, program management or integrated development environments, as I understand it, this is a real step forward when you look at the timeline representation and then the ability to understand the interdependencies of the pieces of code in that timeline. That's a huge thing. Yeah. Ashish is saying they're rethinking software development. I agree with you, Ashish. And so to me, this is absolutely essential. And the thing also is I think what we're going to discover as we start to automate things with agents, it's going to be, we're going to have to rethink the nature of the way the work is done. If you go back to the beginning of the personal computer, Doug Engelbart at the Augmented Knowledge Workshop did this in terms of the conception of the personal computer came out of a new conception of work, which was how do you get highly skilled, well-trained people of doing high value-added, urgent, interdependent work. And they came up with a whole method of doing that they called HLAMT, which is a human being, an artifact, a language, a method with training. That's the HLAMT method. And this has a similar feel. When they think about the timeline, how they deal with incompleteness, interdependencies, it's a new concept of how you do the work. And they are building the base for that. And I think it'll be as profound as, and more so as, the breakthrough of the personal computer.
Yeah, and software development is, it's really hard to say whether it's art or science, because it's really not deterministic as some people think.
No, yeah, and the thing is that you're working in a group often, right? Or at least you have interdependencies if you hand it off to something. And something like a Jira and Atlassian, their representations to me are simply taking old style program management and putting it into the software development process. And that the way you deal, for example, the way you deal with uncertainty in a Gantt chart is really pretty simplistic. And the interdependencies in Jira are pretty simplistic. This is much more sophisticated.
Correct.
It allows you to have contingent interdependencies, to understand where it sits in time, what's locked down, what's not. That's much more like the breakthrough thinking of objects and object-oriented programming that Alan Kay came up with. So I think it's a real breakthrough.
Right. And besides, remember, when you are putting a massive, like a compiler or operating system update on, there are so many interdependencies, and when the changes were made makes a big difference. So figuring out on the fly in real time if something not working is very difficult. So the environment where you can actually timestamp changes and attribute it to people or to actions is massive, because it will allow much smoother transition into through staging into operations. So I think I agree with you, John. This is certainly essential. So how do we rate the OpenAI thingy? And important, John?
Yeah, I'd be fine with important. Yep, let's do it.
Ram, important?
Yeah, definitely. So it's essential when it came out, but now it's important.
Okay. Sounds good. So we'll rate OpenAI important and this one as essential, rethinking software development.
If I may add to the windsurf, like, I don't know, Ashish, like if you can go to this menu item, product and plugins, you can no, right up there, like in the top menu, there is products in the top menu, products. If you go to windsurf plugins, if you scroll down on that page, you can see that basically it already plugs in into every single possible editor that we have, right? So it's plugged in into 40 plus IDEs, right? So that means all the developers are already using it before it came out. Like it was, and the developers doesn't have to change their environment. They don't have to go to a new editor. They can use their existing editors, whatever they are using, and it's just seamless for them. Now it just makes their work like a lot more rapid. So there is no shift. There is no big shift for them. It's just increases the productivity. That's also the beauty of it. So it's just
very
right,
pervasive. Yeah. Okay.
right there.
Great. Thank you, Ram. Okay, let's, wonderful. Let's proceed to the third article. Please, Ankash.
Sure, Luda. So the next one is a research paper which talks about the difference between AI agents and agentic AI.
Right. That comes from Cornell University with also participation of a university in Greece. But the topic is how do you conceptualize what AI agents and what agentic AI is, and what are the differences, and how would you apply it? So maybe, Ankash, if you scroll to the top of the page where figure 2 in mind map of the questions. So what they're really trying to do is clarify the definitions of what AI agent is and what agentic AI is. And by architecture, autonomy, interactions, complexity, and various mechanisms. And they do actually a very comprehensive and great job. However, I am not sure that I will send AI leaders to read this unless they're really interested. I rated it as optional, unfortunately, because I think it's very important to have clear definitions. What did you think about this, John? John, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, optional as well for the reasons you cite.
Ram, agree with optional?
Yeah, it's optional. I think so. I want to just kind of like quickly touch base around, like, at least from my perspective, what it is doing. It is trying to figure out how do you use LLMs and the AI agents, right, seamlessly in an enterprise ecosystem, which on one hand, like the enterprise tools to enterprise software providers like Amazon or IBM, or they're already Microsoft, they're already bringing these pieces together. This is more of a reflection or like more additional directionality around like how the LLMs and AI agents can be brought together. But again, like it's an optional because at this point of time, it's a concept that they're talking about, and there's still, I think probably by next quarter or so, we'll see this in action. And just reflecting back, the windsurf could be one of those examples of this, right, where it is able to where you are able to use agentic AI to orchestrate enterprise as well as LLMs together.
Well, Ashish is arguing that it should be important. And Ankash, if you go to table 1, it kind of into the heart of the article somewhere. And this is not just conceptual. They actually show quite very, they go by feature. Here's AI agents and here's agentic AI. They talk through that. And there's more down in the paper, like table 2 is summary of the various paradigms. So it has a lot of important concepts. However, when I was thinking optional is because it's just it's important maybe for the developer, maybe it's important how you name them, but what difference does it make? I wasn't quite clear on that. That's why I put in optional.
Yeah, so Luda, I agree with you. Again, this is even, I think, talks about can we automatically. So it's like even taking the AI adoption to a higher level, where you can probably automate AI planning and Gen AI enterprise adoption, right? So it's even like taking to that level. Still, even though the concepts are really important, the paper itself is optional for AI leaders.
All right. So, John, want to upgrade to important or stay optional?
Yeah, I'm okay with important. It seemed to me an obvious thing. You're talking about either the thing in the environment or the environment, but whatever. If a lot of people are confusing it, let's deconfuse.
Deconfuse. Okay, to deconfuse, we'll put it important, but it is just Ashish, you won. You win. Important it is. Okay, let's proceed.
The next one comes from AWS and talks about how Qualtrics built Socrate, an AI platform which is powered by Amazon SageMaker and Bedrock.
Okay. Ram, if you could briefly summarize it, we would appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. So this is an interesting use case, primarily because the Qualtrics workbench is how they're talking about how they are using Bedrock and bringing LLMs and Gen AI features to the entire Qualtrics platform, right? Qualtrics is primarily involved in providing customer experience tools, employee experience tools, and strategy and research tools. So when in the interesting thing that I found with this is how do you think about a large integration of Gen AI into enterprise scale products, right? Or enterprise scale platforms. So from that perspective, it's an important thing. If not essential, it's an important thing for IT leaders to just go through this use case and get a sense of, okay, what are the approaches that you should take when you are adapting Gen AI in your enterprise. So this is a use case from that perspective.
Okay, so important from Ram. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, originally I'd had this as optional, but Ram, I think you make a good case. The reason I had it as optional, I really didn't talk about, the benefits to Qualtrics' customers very much. I didn't think, yeah, I mean, it's an impressive story. It's very much a commercial for Qualtrics in the context of their new intelligent interface. I was thinking back to our WINS framework that, 18 months ago, we predicted firms like this would have to reinvent themselves within 3 to 5 years. And here you go. I mean, they are just, they're completely.
Optimizations for generative AI inference. Qualtrics helped the SageMaker inference team.
Here we go. Robot reading. Yes. So I could support important.
Okay. I was actually on the optional side. It was a puff piece in Tim Andrews' description, and not much guts on how they have done it, other than we use this and we use that tool from the options that were available from AWS. So I was on the optional camp, but I will go with you. Important it is.
So
all right.
Ludia, my thought process into this is IT leaders probably need more conceptual type of use cases. So this is one of those conceptual use cases. How do you integrate Gen AI at scale into your enterprise product? So that's where I'm coming from. But yeah, you're right. It's a blatant product advertising for both the companies, Qualtrics and Amazon.
Yeah. It's a very big puff piece. But I can go with you guys. Important. Okay. I would have rated it optional, but it's okay. Okay, let's go forward. So Ankash, please.
The next one comes from Bain & Company, and it says you can't spell AI without HR, and how HR is the surprising secret to scale AI.
Yeah, we've been talking about this, and there was an article in Wall Street Journal talking about Moderna putting AI together with engineering, putting HR together with engineering, so essentially combining them. And this is proving that this is also the case with the survey. John, what did you think about this?
Yeah, I was going to make a case for essential on this one. This is, first of all, I think the insight is an important insight that's just starting to be understood by senior executives, which is the real key to AI is to understand that it's an organizational capability that has to be deeply integrated with human capability. And I'm actually working on an article right now that says, hey, look, with Ashish, with Vinay Gadwani from One Digital, where the basic argument is IT is often tasked with cost reduction as an indirect cost, where HR is often tasked with building the assets of the organization and creating a capability. And I know that those are kind of caricatures, but I think that's true. And I think that, in the main, I think it identifies a central tendency. And the notion of really integrating and also using the budgets of the HR department to do training and so forth, and to really inculcate the use of AI into the organization, I think is essential. And the data are pretty clear. It's got some nice data about things like TurboTax, saving 20 and 40% of, different parts of their organization in terms of productivity. And the fact that the people who have more, I like this particular one, that Akash has up here, training, in terms of percentage of people responding, what are the most important things, training employees, creating guidelines for use. Those to me strike me as HR kind of functions, if you will, in addition to IT. So I'm making the case for essential for this one.
Yeah, I was on essential too. Ram, what did you think?
Yeah, I concur with John. One of the things that came to my mind was NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said AI agents will make IT the HR of the future, right? So that kind of like popped. Oh, seems to be like the starting of the realization of that statement. So yeah,
Essential.
Make that comment. Yes.
Okay, essential it is. I really do think that it's an important message, and it's fact proven from the survey. So I think we should certainly go essential. Okay, essential it is. Let's proceed to the last one. Yes, John.
No, I said alrighty.
Okay, great. Next one.
The next one comes. Yes, Luda. The next one comes from 11 Labs, and it talks about how 11 Lab created a soundboard using 11 Labs SFX API.
Yeah, it actually can produce quite incredible sounds. Fascinating. What did you think about this, Ankaj?
Yep. So Luda, I think this is quite different from all the audio generation news that we have discussed in the past few months, right? Those has been focused on either speech generation or music generation. But this ambient sound generation kind of a thing, I think that can be very useful in gaming environments, virtual worlds, your metaverse, and all those kind of things. So I was important for those set of reasons.
Okay, important from Ankaj. 11 Labs certainly knows what they're doing. This is something, and they actually tell us how they created it, and the fact that they used Lovable first to put together that what it would look like, and then fitted stuff into it. This was fascinating that they shared that as well. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I was going to give it an optional, yet another, fantastic tool, but I could be convinced of important.
Yeah, I was also in an optional side because it is a feature, essential. It can be used in a lot of places, but it is not a major development, I don't think. Ram, what do you think?
Yeah, so I enjoyed like playing with the board and playing music with my kids, so it was great. But from an IT leader standpoint, it's optional.
Okay.
As she said, like from a gaming worlds and all that, it may be like pretty interesting. but at least from the IT leader standpoint, it's optional, but a fun tool. Totally enjoyed it. And we've been doing some conversational voice proof of concepts and implementations in the recent past. And this 11 Labs has been basically making huge strides lately. And this is like one very, very interesting API.
Okay. So, Ankash, we are going for big O. Okay with that?
Yes, Luda.
Okay, great. So optional it is. Let's, if Ankash, you can get us the final scorecard.
While he's doing that, Luda, want me to tell about Learning Lab tonight?
Yes, please. That's what I was doing.
Learning Lab tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern U.S. time, 7 to 8, is on our very own Ashish Patia talking about traditional software coding versus Gen AI testing. So a very important topic, something we can all learn from. And thanks, Ashish, for agreeing to be doing that. And we will see if you're interested. Just go to Meetup and our GAI Insights Learning Lab this Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern for an hour.
Right. And so for today, we have, thank you, John. We have two essentials: the HR integration and the software development SWE environment from Windsurf, and 3 importance and 1 optional. As somebody would say, I know who, scope creep. From Paul. Okay, but thank you very much for listening, and we really appreciate Ram for you joining. Thank you, Ashish, Lucinda, for you guys participating, and we'll see you all tomorrow or tonight at the Learning Lab. Thank you, and until tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.